Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Delta series of Crape Myrtles from the Southern Living plant collection. This is a group of semi-dwarf Crape Myrtles that are fantastic in tight spaces. They can be used on foundations. They can be used as a row or a hedge. They have a more upright habit. They are semi-dwarfs. They're going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 12 feet. There's 7 Crape Myrtles in this collection. There's 2 that are lavender or light purple. This is Delta Breeze right here. There are 3 pinks in the collection. I've got the Delta Fusion here. There's Delta Fuchsia and one called Jazz. Really super striking. All 3 of them slightly different shades of pink. And then there's a red one called Delta Flame. I had a few of those, and as soon as those red flowers opened up, they were gone at the garden center. I should have grabbed one in time to shoot this video. So I don't have that one here, but that one is very popular. And then Delta Moonlight on the end right there. That's the white flowering variety. All of these have unique burgundy foliage on them. The leaves are slightly cupped and have a burgundy hue to them. It's really an interesting thing in Crape Myrtles over the time that I've been in this business. When I started, it was just like, what color do you want? You know, there's 6 basic colors, and you know, they all get big. And then over time, they've been, you know, we've seen lots of semi-dwarfs, and then actual dwarf Crape Myrtles come out, and then more vivid colors have come out. And now, you know, the introduction of foliage into this is really amazing because it really extends the period of time. Crape Myrtles are already very long bloomed. You know, they bloom for a good portion of the summer, much longer than most flowering trees do. But to be able to have them leaf out in the spring with this burgundy foliage and have that, you know, additional month or 2 of color where we didn't have color before is really amazing to me. Like I say, these Delta series Crape Myrtles are almost exclusively upright and kind of narrow, which to me lends itself to being able to be used on a foundation. And all the new kinds of subdivisions that we have where the houses are a little tighter and you just don't have the space, but you want something, you want a super showy flowering tree, this is a good option. A lot of the other options of small ornamental trees that are super showy are things that bloom in the early spring and bloom for like a week or 2 and they're done. Whereas these Crape Myrtles, especially this Delta series, they'll leaf out, they'll be have this bold foliage on them, and then they'll bud up in the early summer, and then, you know, right after the 4th of July now, and they're just coming into peak flower, and they'll flower pretty much the rest of the summer. They're also super low maintenance. I mean, Crape Myrtles are just pretty easy plants. We can, if they need to be pruned some, we usually do it in the late winter. I don't recommend cutting them way back like, you know, you see a lot of people doing. If you get the right Crape Myrtle, you don't really have to do that much pruning on it. These would fall into the category of, you know, if you need one that gets between 8 and 12 feet, which is probably the size that most people want them to get, you know, maybe up to 14 or so, then you can just, you know, get the appropriate Crape Myrtle, and then you don't have to do that crepe myrtle thing, you know, as some people call it, in the late winter. They can be fertilized at that same time, and really, that's about it. There's just not a heck of a lot of maintenance to be done on them. Crape Myrtles are super drought tolerant, you know, once they're established. It's a little dry in my area right now, so if I was planting it in the summer, and most people are planting their Crape Myrtles in the summer because it's when they're seeing them, it's when they're excited about them, it's when they're going to buy them. And so, you know, when you're putting it in at that time of year, you are going to have to do some ongoing watering on it. Once it establishes itself over a winter, really not that big of a deal. Southern Living Plant Collection has another series too called Early Bird Crape Myrtles that bloom much earlier. I haven't had many of those yet at the garden center. I hope to put a collection of those together at some point. That's kind of exciting too. These are Crape Myrtles that come out and get started earlier flowering. All these Crape Myrtles are hardy in zones 7 to 9, but folks that come down and visit the southeastern United States beaches always want to carry Crape Myrtles back home with them to places like Ohio and those types of places. And I think that Early Bird Crape Myrtle series may be a good choice for that, because in zone 6B, where a lot of people are carrying them back to, Crape Myrtles can oftentimes be killed to the ground and then come back as perennials, and quite frequently just don't have enough time during the season to come back from the ground and really put on a show. And I think that Early Bird Crape Myrtle series would be worth a try for those folks that are using them as as a herbaceous perennial where it dies to the ground and comes back every year. So I'm excited to show you those when I get a chance to. I'm going to be planting 4 of these Delta Moonlight Crape Myrtles at the garden center, and I'll cover that when I do. They should be a little more peak flower at that point. Actually got to get the lines marked for the electric. Where my garden center is, there's a heck of a lot of fiber optics and stuff like that running across the front of it. I don't want any part of breaking any of that, so I'll wait to do that. The reason I'm actually going to use these Delta Series Crape Myrtles at the garden center out by the road is because they're upright and narrow, they won't block the view. They'll put on a nice show out by the road, but they won't block the view of my customers seeing down into the garden center. So that's why I'm picking those. This Delta Fusion Crape Myrtle, I am going to do a separate video on because I've got a spot that I want to put that in the ground here at my house. That is a really striking, beautiful, kind of a medium pink color right there. So Crape Myrtles are definitely full sun plants. They need at least 6 hours or more of direct sun, and that's where you're going to get the best foliage color on these Delta Series Crape Myrtles. You can see the color contrast between the flowers and the foliage, and I brought this Sunshine Ligustrum over here just to show you how you can play with the foliage color on these Crape Myrtles now. It really, really is striking and beautiful. They're just getting started, you know, late June, early July in my area up here in Zone 7B. If you're in Zone 8 or 9, they've almost certainly been blooming for several weeks now. But be on the lookout for these Delta series of Crape Myrtles because they add this bonus feature of having beautiful foliage as well as, you know, your typical Crape Myrtle flowers in white and pink and red and lavender. Thank you very much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for future videos.